From all over the country, 142 past and present awardees of the most inspiring teachers of the Philippines gathered in Dumaguete. It was amazing to meet educators from so many different parts of the country and learn about their stories. In between the sessions, I also found time to do my own exploration. I had always been curious about Negros, particularly its rich geologic landscape. I got to talk to a young geologist from the Negros Oriental State University, Professor Mike Tubog.
Mike, I fly over Dumaguete, over Canlaon very often, and I see these nice lakes and wonder how did all this form?
Well, sir, these are actually a product of a very complex geologic processes that forms or shape these features. Just like an example of the Pulang Batu Falls, this is an example of a volcanic falls that has been formed because of various tectonic settings of Palinpinon areas. With respect to lakes, specifically the Lake Danao or the twin lakes of Danao and Balinsasayao, they were the so-called the crater lakes.
So they were craters before?
Yes, they were craters. So the Cuernos de Negros is a super volcano way back in, I think it's in Cretaceous or Jurassic period. And then a massive explosion which shaped the three horns of these mountains. The collapse or one of the remnant craters of this area formed or shaped the formation of
the Twin Lakes. But, there's still steam coming out of all these places, right?
Yes.
So how does that happen?
Well, since it is classified as potentially active, it means that the magma beneath this volcano is still in the process of cooling. So until then, this magma will still emit heat, geothermal fluids, and will seep in towards the fractures of the crust.
So do you bring your students on field trips and examine all these things while you're there?
Certainly, sir, because they need to have a hands-on experience of the geology of the area. They need to understand.
Did I join the field trip?
Of course.
So you will not give me a test, will you?
No.
So you might give me a test.
I will not be giving you a test.
I might back out.
Unless you want me to.
Professor Mike took this overage student to some of the geologic areas within the vicinity of Dumaguete. Our first stop is this otherworldly sight. Clouds of steam coming out from the rocks with a very unpleasant sulfuric smell.
We famously call this the Palinpinon Sulfur Vents.
Okay.
This is a very famous tourist destination in Negros Oriental as well. So basically, this is actually the proof of the existence of geothermal energy here. So that's why we have the Energy Development Corporation extracting such energy to generate electricity for Negros and even Cebu and Panay Islands.
The area reminded me of the many volcanic vents in New Zealand. This one, in Palinpinon, is only one of the many geothermal sites here in Negros, and is a good place to observe the volcanic activity that continues to happen beneath the surface. Our next stop was the volcanic complex of the Cuernos de Negros, or the Horns of Negros. Its tallest peak is the potentially active Mount Talinis. The beginning of the trek to the Twin Lakes Natural Park took us to Cabalinan Pond, which is actually a small, placid lake.
So Mike, the drive up here was very interesting to see the rocks and the views on the other side.
Actually, sir, this is just a start or the part of the general volcanic vicinity of Cuernos de Negros. Basically, it's, in a volcanic environment, sir, there are a lot of depressions.
Yes.
Since the area has been reshaped throughout the geologic time. And this depression will be filled with meteoric water, such as this pond that we have right here. Well, in the Twin Lakes, we might be having almost similar scenario or similar process that form or shape that geologic features, and we will be examining such later on.
Well, I'm excited to see it already. I see all these rocks. Of course, this all came from the
Yes.
eruption at one time.
Yes, it could be a product of multiple eruptions.
It's so peaceful and quiet, you know, all the trees, the water is very calm. So, what kind of trees are these?
They're actually Salix tetrasperma, or the Indian willow, sir. They usually grow in water.
Wow.
We continued on to get to the lakes, passing through thickly forested path.
So, Mike, this is not a very simple hike.
Yes.
I thought I was very good in hiking until we started with the slippery rocks.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. They are handrails. Okay.
Finally, we get to the Twin Lakes of Balinsasayao and Danao, formed from a volcanic eruption some 10,000 years ago. Mike and I boarded a boat to explore the area.
Actually, sir, this is a crater lake. So basically, when the eruption happens, the part of the wall of the conduit the craters has been collapsed.
I see.
That's why you have observed some of these beddings, which were originally deposited horizontal. They are already vertical or even inclined in position right now.
It's amazing how an explosion of a volcano can turn up to be something very scenic and beautiful afterwards.
Yeah, they are beautiful, but somehow we are hopeful that this will not be reactivated once again.
Mike explained that over thousands of years, these deep craters, filled with water from rain and stream deposits. The entire area of the Twin Lakes is also a very popular bird watching site, as it is home to more than 100 endemic bird species. We soaked in the incredible natural beauty of the mountains and forests that surrounded us. It was like a trip back in time. As Mike explained, the forces that built this place.
Why, all these are so interesting for me. You know, I was always absent in all my classes. It's only now that I'm listening to you very carefully. I think my teachers will be very happy if they watch me.
The final stop of our field trip takes us to the majestic Pulang Bato Falls, where evidence of the Cuernos de Negros volcanic activity can also be found.
So, Mike, this is totally different from what I have seen in the past. The rocks are colored red. Well, why is it? Is it because of sulfur?
Yes, that's because of the oxidation of the minerals of these rocks with respect to the sulfur content of the water.
So this water comes from where, actually?
Well, actually, the headwaters of this one came from the highest points of Cuernos de Negros. But it's just so happened that this water passes through the certain areas of Cuernos de Negros where there is a present escape of hydrothermal fluids, and it mixes with this water coming from this river. That's why it is concentrated with sulfur dioxide.
We also observed the beautiful rock formations beside the waterfalls.
This formation itself is the so-called the columnar basalts. So they are the product of cooling of a basaltic rock that are in contact with water while being deposited during the eruption.
The emerald pool of the falls, in contrast with the red rocks and lush vegetation surrounding it, is indeed a sight to behold. Professor Mike's insight into how these places came to be made the experience of seeing them even more meaningful. Up next, I get a review of Philippine history as well as some lessons on Dumaguete's breakfast favorites while paying tribute to the most inspiring teachers of the country.